Hello and welcome in part 2 on my trip to Iceland from the Netherlands by train, ferry and also bus, because there are no trains on Iceland. As I mentioned in part number 1, I featured the train stations where I'm arriving at because I already featured Hamburg. But I took a train from Hamburg to Aarhus here in Denmark. So what I will do in this video, I will show you the railway station of Aarhus. If you're not interested in that, in the timeline of this video you can find chapters. You can just skip to the train. In part 1 I told you more about how I booked my train tickets, the entire route, etc. I'll show you the trains and I'll show you some views from the train. I hope you like this video. If you do so, give me a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more train related videos, hit the subscribe button. And if you don't want to miss anything, just also hit the bell icon. And the next video will be published in 1 month from now on this epic adventure to Iceland. But for now, don't wait too much. Let's roll the intro. The entire route we took by train is from The Hague in the Netherlands to Hitsaus in the north of Denmark, from where on we took a ferry towards Iceland via the Faroe Islands. However, this specific video will only be about the section from Hamburg to Århus. Ticket information will be displayed on the top right of the screen. However, this might be different if you book a ticket in one go, because we booked a ticket from The Hague in the Netherlands to Hitsaus, so this section is included in this ticket. Hamburg is the second busiest city of Germany and Aarhus is the second city of Denmark. And you'll find some direct trains on this route. Apart from this connection, there are other connections between Germany and Denmark, but I'll tell you a little bit more about that later on in the video. For now, let's take a closer look at this railway station of Århus. In the central railway station hall, you'll find the general facilities you might expect for passengers. For example, this locker room. And what I really like is that the light rail, so the tram of Århus, is more or less integrated within this station as if this is a regular platform for trains. It's being operated by Mid-Traffic and they had one of the best commercials for buses ever. You can Google it after you watch this video, of course. In the central railway station hall there are some convenience shops and there are some vending machines for tickets. Of course, you also find the necessary displays with information about departing trains. The layout of this railway station is pretty straightforward. Well, for now, let's take a closer look in the hallway that's right above the tracks and basically between a shopping mall and the front of the railway station. Over here there's a ticket counter where you can go to for buying tickets, but also for information. And a little bit more at the side you will find the first class lounge. Since we were traveling first class on this journey, well, we just had a sneak peek over here. And this is how the first class lounge of the DSB is in Aarhus. It's pretty nice, I have to say. You can get some coffee, there's some fruit and there are some basic snacks over here. All included in your tickets. Free Wi-Fi and newspapers are also available at this spot. Over here there are several spots where you can just have a sit and work, and route information for departing trains is very well given in the lounge. What I really like is that there are some places you can use as a meeting room as well. One is quite small, as you can see over here, and then there's also a bigger meeting room. Even though the layout of this railway station is pretty straightforward and easy and directions are given very well, I think we can discover a little bit more at this spot. So let's go out of the first class lounge, past the ticket desks, and we're here at the main overground passage again. Over here there are some more shops, and speaking of which, if you move a little bit more to the other side of this railway station from the front side, so to the back, you will find a big shopping mall integrated within this railway station. Well, I'm not gonna show you all of that, so let's head back to the railway station again. Both at the platform but also within the main areas of the railway station, there are lots of places where you can just take a seat, ideal if you have to wait for your train. And of course, for the first class passengers, you also find the first class lounge. However, please do keep in mind that the first class lounge also has limited opening hours and is not open every day. Before I will show you the platforms, that are really straightforward by the way. At the moment I was at the platform, I also noticed some stairs that were leading somewhere else, at a higher part, and what I didn't notice yet was a parking spot for bikes. This is Denmark after all, what is a true cycling nation, just like the Netherlands where I'm from by the way. So apart from the front, you can also enter the tracks directly from the parking spots for bikes that are located a little bit more at the side. Right next to this there's a bigger street. So more parking spots can be found at the front. For example right here, next to the taxi stand. Well, I think you have an impression of how this railway station is and how to navigate around here. Directions are given very well, so let's head to the railway track. And before you enter the platforms, there will be screens that will host information about the first upcoming departures. Apart from that, directions are given very well towards the tracks. To the tracks you will find escalators, elevators and of course stairs. Of course, at the platform directions are given very clear as well. And basically like all over the station, the texts are both in Danish and in English. Just like at most spots within the railway station, at the platform there are clear departure screens and also screens about the first upcoming departing trains. The train composition will be displayed digitally on these screens, and it has been marked with letters at the platform where you are. For example, the big A you can see right here, right next to a screen in the top left of the screen. For now, I think it's time to focus on the trains I had on this route. The DSB, what is the state-owned railway company of Denmark, is serving their trains on the routes between Hamburg and Copenhagen and Hamburg and Aarhus. I already featured these trains on the route from Hamburg to Copenhagen, where I also featured the railway station of Hamburg. This is why I feature for this video the railway station of Århus. And the trains that will be used for this route are the IC3 trains. They are called IC3 because they do consist of 3 carriages, but they can be combined. However, these trains will be replaced from 2024 with newer Talgo trains. The newer trains do have a higher capacity, what is desperately needed for these routes by the way, and these trains can also go faster. So if you're watching this video after 2024, you might expect different trains on these routes. That will be the Talgo trains. These are some artist impressions I found of these trains on the internet. Apart from the higher capacity on these trains, as far as I know, there will also be more trains between Hamburg and Copenhagen and Hamburg and Aarhus. Like I mentioned in the introduction, I took these trains from Hamburg, but because I already featured Hamburg Hauptbahnhof, so Hamburg Central Station, I featured the railway station where I arrived at in this video. But this is the train coming in at the railway station of Hamburg, and as you can see, it was rather busy. At least for the first part there were enough seating places, so no people needed to stand, but at the moment the train was in Denmark, at some part of the journey people had to stand. At the outside of the train before you enter the train, the carriage number has been displayed on a digital screen, and at the moment you enter the train this will be displayed again with that final destination and where to go for what seats. Seat numbers and information about the reservations can be found within the luggage racks. Normally if I'm traveling in second class. Simply because second class is a little bit more affordable, and also because at the moment you are traveling with these trains, you most likely travel in second class as well. So I can show you this better if I'm traveling in second class as well. However, for this trip I traveled first class, but I will start off by showing you the second class. The second class comes in a 2x2 configuration and most seats do face each other. You only find 8 airline style seats. Because it was rather busy and it was a little bit difficult to do a seat tour, I will combine this footage with some footage I've shot earlier in 2021 of exactly the same train types. All windows do have a sunscreen and it's quite vandalism proof. Of course you can use the overhead luggage racks, but because a lot of seats do face each other, between the back ends you also find a lot of space for luggage. Within the luggage racks you will find reading lights and power plugs. There are no personal litter bins, but you'll find these bags for litter, so you can throw it away at the railway station. All seats are reclinable and the comfort of these seats is pretty good. Even though trains are statistically a little bit safer, at least as a train passenger, than flying in Europe, you will find some safety card information, and this is mainly because there are quite a lot of special bridges and tunnels within Denmark, so it's better to inform people just in case something might go wrong over there. Free Wi-Fi is available all over the train, and the speed is really good. At the end of the compartments, basic LED screens will host route information, so basically the train number, the final destination and the first upcoming stop. For passengers traveling with bikes, you can take bikes within these trains, however you're obligated to make a bike reservation, and right next to the compartment for the bikes there are some folding seats, just like at several spots between the carriages. These trains can be combined, and in that case the driver cabin can be put aside, so you can basically walk from one train set into the other one. This wasn't the case for our trip between Aarhus and Hamburg though. Basic information about the routes and, well, train maps can be found between the compartments near the entrance doors. Even though there is not a dining car within these trains, there is a vending machine for soft drinks and, well, cooled drinks, as chilled drinks as they advertise it. And some spots between the compartments you also find some litter bins. The first class comes in a 2x1 configuration, and just like in the second class most seats do face each other, so you have some extra space for luggage between the back ends of the seats. The capacity in the first class is really low. There are only 16 seats, what's really not a lot. The greatest thing about first class to me is that you can grab free instant coffee or tea and water. Although I'm doing my very best to use less plastic, therefore little plastic bottles with drinking water in a country where drinking water quality is really good both in Germany and Denmark, I don't really get this. For the rest, the first class gives you a little bit more space, but it's not that much better as second class. There's also a small section in the first class you can, well, consider as a silent compartment. But the second class product in these trains, I think that's quite a good product though. Because no train tour is complete without doing a toilet review. You will find 2 toilets within these trains, and these are the bigger toilets. You can also use them as a changing space for babies, and this is a little bit more accessible as well. Nothing really special to be honest. Before I show some views from the train, a quick comparison on the environmental impact if you're traveling by train, car and plane. Of course, trains will not clean the air, but this graph shows the environmental impact if you're traveling by train, car and plane on this route. The lower part is for this section of the route, and the upper part is for the entire journey we did by train from The Hague in the Netherlands to Aarhus in the north of Denmark. Of course, trains will not clean the air, but at least it's a way more sustainable way of transportation, and personally I also really prefer trains. They bring you in one go from city center to city center. For the next tiny bit of this video, I'll show you some views from the train between Hamburg and Aarhus. The top speed on the German section for this train is 140 km per hour, and in Denmark it's 180 km per hour.
sandelig ved at nærme os Århus. Næste gang bliver det Aarhus, og det bliver også endestationen for dette tog. Der bliver udstigning i togets højre side, og for gæster, der er planer om at rejse videre mod Randers, Hobro og Aalborg, så har vi lyntogsforbindelse fra spor nummer 7 et sted omkring kl. 15.55. Ordinær afgang 15.52, spor nummer 7 i retning Aalborg. Det her der fra von Gleis-Tiden in Richtung Aalborg.
I hope you liked this video. If you did so, please give me a thumbs up and like I told you in the introduction. If you'd like to see more, hit the subscribe button. The next video on this journey will be between Aarhus and Aalborg in Denmark. We'll be on an intercity train. Once again, thank you for watching and see you on my next video.